And the countdown is on. 4 days to the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections in Ghana. Hello and welcome to Election Brief here on your election headquarters. My name is Araba Kumson. Coming up in this edition, with 4 days to the polls, the MPP's campaign director, Peter McMeno, projects to win December polls by 1.5 million votes in the presidential ballots.
Though have been told by various researchers and pollsters that we're going to win one touch. Nevertheless, we're not going to go asleep. We are not going to be complacent. We are working.
Meanwhile, former President John Mahama dismisses recent researches and polls that puts President Akufo-Addo in the lead. Also, the Electoral Commission is in the Ashanti region and says it's willing to change the choice of collation center for the Asawase constituency, despite objections by the National Democratic Congress.
We have taken consideration of all those areas, and we have put in place, but I wouldn't want to disclose it to you. We have put in place specific programs to ensure that we achieve that success.
This and many more coming up in the next 55 minutes with me, Araba Kumson. Remember, Election Brief is streaming live on myjoyonline.com as well as our social media handles, Facebook as well as JoyNews TV on YouTube. Election Brief is brought to you courtesy of Petrosol, also Cowbell Coffee and Peda. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us here on Election Brief, brought to you courtesy of Pat Eva Petrosol as well as Cowbell Coffee. Now, acting chairperson of the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, Sheikh Arimiao Shaibu, says the declaration of Monday, December 7, which is Election Day, as a holiday, and the potential huge numbers at polling stations may be factors contributing to the likely outbreak of violence. He wants the police to tighten security to prevent any clashes. He was speaking to JoyNews on Thursday after CODEO set up a parallel collation center to facilitate the flow of information to the public on Election Day.
Election Day has been declared as holidays. I think that we want to advise the security agencies to be more on the alert, because what it means is that almost everybody is at home and polling stations may be crowded. Over-enthusiastic party loyalists may engage in some activity. And so this should trigger some strategic approach to the election security monitoring and how they execute their work. It helps people to stay at their work post. The polling station may not be too congested and people may not have time to come and stay there again, except those who are not working. But majority of those who are working will have to go back to their workplaces and so on. So then that reduces the number that accumulates around the place. But now that is a holiday, what it means is that almost everybody will be free. And we anticipate that that crowding around could be misused by some people. And you know what, once election comes with enthusiasm. And I think that we should not underestimate this. The security agencies, I'm sure, having their intelligence, will be able to really handle matters when it comes there.
So the new center by CODEO is expected to receive and process data on real-time events from the over 4,000 election observers who will be deployed across the country as part of efforts to deepen transparency in the 2020 polls and ease tensions on Election Day, and also increase the acceptability of the results on Election Day. My colleague Manuel Kuranting was there. He joins us on the phone with more on this. Manuel, the Electoral Commission was represented at this program. What have they been saying?
Also, Araba, the Electoral Commission was represented by Director of Electoral Services at the EC, Dr. Serbo Kweku, who lauded the effort of CODEO to set up this NEF center, which they call the National Information Center. Essentially, he believes that this will help keep the Electoral Commission on its toes so that it's able to meet its 24-hour deadline for declaring the results come election day. He believes that all of these, together with the cooperation of the media and other stakeholders within the election, will help to keep the electorate and really the general public at ease, so that there's not so much tension come election day, because people are informed about what is happening in real time.
And Manuel, will political party representatives be, welcome to observe the process at this particular center?
Well, so this particular, NEF has been set up by CODEO is in partnership with a number of, stakeholders within the election, including the political parties. In fact, we understand that the political parties are in the know, and they have welcome to the idea to have what you want to extend and describe as a parallel coalition center, which will keep everybody informed. And so you have some stakeholders from even the international community. You have the United States of America represented. The Ambassador Stephanie Sullivan says that there will be about 60 observers who will be deployed election day from the United States of America. You also have observers who will be moving around. I spoke to Ian Walker, who confirmed this. The EU and the UN are all sending election observers. And so essentially, it's to be a sort of a consensus that has been arrived at, taking into consideration all the views of the major stakeholders within the state.
And Manuel, give us a practical demonstration, if you like, of how the process will be like on D-Day, that's election day, when they receive the information on the ground and how they collate it and all of that. Run us through that.
So I spoke to Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante, who is the coordinator at the center. Now, he took me through it, and there are 5 steps. So all the 4,000 observers who will be deployed from CODEO on election day will go through 5 steps, which first be on reporting of the arrival of the electoral materials and electoral officers at the various polling stations. The second step will be reporting on setup. The third step will be reporting on the voting. The fourth step will be counting. And then the final step, which would terminate their job, as it were, will be to report on the results of the various, polling stations from the various coalition centers also. So generally, that will be the progression of events come election day from that NEF center. But we're told that the CODEO will be holding presser at midday to give a wrap of proceedings from 7 a.m. until midday that it has noticed from all of its election observers who will be dotted across the country. And so essentially this seems to be, a structured system that will bring up to the minute information to the electorate on what is happening, not only in their own constituencies, but across the country also.
All right, Manuel Karanting is my colleague there, and he'll be bringing more updates on this particular center that was just opened purposely for the smooth transmission of polls, the outcome of the polls, to ensure transparency, essentially. And that was set up by CODEO there, as he said. You're still watching Election Brief with me, Arba Kumsin. It's time to hear the campaign trail now, and President Akufo-Addo is on a day's tour of parts of the eastern region. He's visiting Akimoda in Sawam Suhum, Ekropong, after wrapping up his 3-day tour of the Ashanti region. At the final rally at Ashanti Newtown in the Minshia South constituency, the president said lies and deceit being propagated by his main opponent, John Dramani Mahama, will be rejected by Ghanaians, describing the free senior high school program as the envy of many. Nana Akufo-Addo said government will work to make it even better to guarantee sound education for the populace.
Our educational system is the envy of the world. We are singing baby ameko. You come up by the first thing people talk about, Ghana's free senior high school system. Yeah, one yes, NDC presidential candidate. On my penny that I didn't, I'm so don't know the SHS by. Hey. So be Ghana, bet me a dear dancer or I am Matthew Poco Prempe. Namoni Bade Contia. Your penny on Sonia me, and now no disaster Ghana. His campaign has collapsed. Mahama's campaign has collapsed. Ababianim. So, he's resorted to lies, to outright fabrications, misrepresentations, confusion of thought. The NDC presidential candidature has collapsed. The campaign is no longer viable for the Ghanaian people. Obia, what's wrong with the or waha? Bekon wakwa kotunaba. Faukan. Bobianka. Se o nana kwa wenya de da nti ehia se me kwa koto. Onto wo dia nana enyaye. Onto wo dia napo onyaye. Nti de medi jamo. And they said, Juadano. Ampa. Yeah, Kwakotono. Boom.
Well, dancehall artist Samini, who performed on the night, called on the youth to vote for President Akufo-Addo.
They say, baby, Edruno. Yemubi wawa, nanka first no, nanka yenyi nimu say. But say ye na ye koye nim no na ye drum pempenso bi a e wo say ye nso ye yetimi di ene eka ho say oman no betu mpon a na wo say emrante ne mmaba wa ye nso ye de ye ho ka ho bi na ye ka adwuma ne ho bi enti say me metena se na me de mani to form na me hwe de e ko na me gidi say e say yetimi ma daddy etoa so one me ya agin Only me ajama me won saba ko wiem say. Aha. Enti se dey no do a na odu a daddy one number hen. Okay. And honorable Matthew Poku Prempen so one number hen. Enti udu a na the team so. No one making sure say we the team so ye menye mistake wo ho. Na yentime ma daddy ento adwuma ne so ma ne nyefe. What I say? Now, me so make a cry. May I say me de be contribute aka campaign ne won say de be ya for more agenda ne be baso no. Eye nyumba ko bia me ye ya. Be bia wo be hu daddy bia. Eye ama no boy aka ma me what? Na daddy aye ni nyina. Can't do that's why na yo no. Amado. So una na eye ama na mo na ye show boy. So una na eye ama no
Let's stay on the campaign trail, and NDC presidential candidate John Mahama will later this afternoon begin a tour of the Volta and Oti regions as he ended his visit to the Eastern region this morning. In the Eastern region yesterday, he urged party supporters to be vigilant during next week's Monday's elections. Maxwell Akpakpa is with the campaign team. He joins us on the phone. Maxwell, so what else has Mr. Mahama been saying in the Eastern region?
In the Brim North district, he's been talking about Cocoa Roads. He says when the NDC was in government, they started the construction of the Nkoko's new Brim road. He said the NDC had done about 5 kilometers of that stretch. That road has been left uncompleted. And he says that just recently, the contractors moved to site, and that was only because it was just some days to the election. He says it is only to get people to vote for the MPP, and that's why the road was left for many years, and they are now continuing just some days to the election. He has also been talking about mining, especially when he visited some of the mining communities. He says the party will establish small-scale mining offices to ensure sustainable small-scale mining in the Brim North district and also in the region. He says about 1 million young people will be employed if the small-scale mining sector is properly regulated. He has been reiterating his promise of pardoning persons who have been incarcerated for engaging in illegal mining, and he has also been talking about returning their mining concessions to persons whose mining concessions have been unjustifiably, taken from them. He has also been talking about the party's national apprenticeship program. He says the NDC will add private schools to the free senior high school program if it is elected into government.
I understand that he will be visiting the Volta and Oti regions. Tell us more about that.
The Volta region continues to be the stronghold of the NDC. Indeed, some weeks ago, the NPP presidential candidate, President Akufo-Addo, ended his tour of that region sometime in November. And there he campaigned strongly for Energy Minister John Peter Amewu to win the Hohoi seat. The NDC presidential candidate is expected to be in that constituency to consolidate the gains of the NDC in that region and also undo the gains made by the NPP. We understand NOT region also is likely and expected to be in the Dambai constituency.
Maxwell Ababa, he's embedded with the John Dramani Mahama team. Let's turn our attention on the president's team, which is in the eastern region. As you know, John Dramani Mahama just left the eastern region. Elton Brobe is with that team. Elton, bring us up to speed on the president's campaign.
Down with the Achimodan constituency. The next stop, I'm told, will be at there. So this are all in the eastern region. We also have Sawam, to whom and I've proposed to visit. This is just a day's visit in the eastern region before the president will cross over into the Greater Accra region to begin a 2-day wrap-up of the Greater Accra region. Start Friday and Saturday to end the electioneering campaign for the election 2020 out of Chimoda. The senior minister for information for John Bonkuma, whose constituency says boundary with the Chimoda constituency. They were all there to lend their voice and their support for the call for the MPP supporters to go out and vote on election day, saying that they cannot assume that they've won already. They can only win if they go out and vote. President Akufo did not speak much, except to say that in the last 4 years, he's done so much. He's delivered on the promises he made to the electorate in the run-up to the 2016 elections. And for that reason, there's a need for his re-election, because what he's done so far is to lay a solid foundation. That's just about taking off to bring about the prosperity that Ghanaians are yearning for. And that will happen in its next step. And any attempt or any decision to vote against the MPP, the nation will take a nosedive, something that he doesn't want to see. For that reason, the MPP and their supporters should go out and vote massively for the MPP. In the Achimoda constituency, they are targeting 85% of the popular vote, and also obviously will win the parliamentary seat because it's been a strong vote of the MPP since 1996. The parliamentary candidate for this area, Petiakwa, said former President John Mahama was in the constituency yesterday, but they are of the view that his presence there yesterday would not have any impact on the chances of the MPP winning this constituency to add up to the national tally to ensure that the president will go on to win the general elections come Monday.
All right. Many thanks. Elton Brobe is embedded with the president's team, giving us that update of President Akufo-Addo's campaign. And as you heard there, he's in the eastern region and is expected to head to the Greater Accra region later. A lot of attention is being paid to the two major parties, but of course, the minority parties are also campaigning. Let's turn our attention on the Progressive People's Party, and its presidential candidate, Bridget Jogbenuku, is calling on the people of Bimbilla and the general public to vote for the party for change. She was speaking at a mini rally in Bimbilla on 3 central themes: change to allow younger people to manage the affairs of the country, change for a woman, and change completely from our way of voting.
The job, but nobody is interested in coming to invest in it for you because of the parties you vote for. They don't know, they don't have the idea. They are not interested in your getting jobs. They are interested in staying in power for 4 years. Every 4 years, that's all they are interested in. You the young ones, be interested in your future. I understand that you are farmers here. You have yam, you have grains, millet, rice. But look at your road. We the PPP will construct the roads to all these areas. We will construct all your roads. We want to construct the roads not because it is nice, but because we can bring investment here. We can bring a factory here to process your grain, to process your yam. And in those factories, you will get a job. You don't have to go to Accra to go and work. The jobs can come to you here. The jobs can come to you here. If you vote for the right party, the jobs will come to you. So vote for a party that is good at giving jobs. Our founder, they say, is a Jumara. We believe that the jobs are in your towns and districts. We can create the jobs for you. First of all, what we just need is to make your community accessible.
Now, as you know, several opinion polls have predicted the governing New Patriotic Party will either lead or emerge victorious in the upcoming polls. Well, the NPP says it is not resting on its oars or becoming complacent following the polls that have put it in the lead. Campaign manager of the NPP, Peter McMinu, says they are hoping to win the elections with a margin of victory of over 1.5 million votes in the presidential and 66% of the parliamentary seats. He spoke to my colleague, Mama V. Owusu-Abuaje.
The campaign has been smooth. The campaign has been peaceful. The campaign has been civil, based on ideas. Me and my team, the campaign team, have been working extremely hard because our target, our objective, is to win one touch with a margin of victory of over 1.5 million votes in the presidential and 66% of the parliamentary seats, which is close to 198, 200 seats. So once we had set ourselves these ambitious targets, it only takes a hard work to be able to achieve them. That's exactly what our team, the NPP campaign team, led by me, are doing.
You've set yourself, and as you say, an ambitious target. There are various polls that put you in the lead ahead of your main contender, the NDC's candidate, John Mahama. But there is also another poll that uses the statistical methodology that says that it won't be a one-touch victory in this 2020 election.
Well, you see, we do have been told by various researchers and pollsters that we're going to win one touch. Nevertheless, we're not going to go asleep. We are not going to be complacent. We are working extremely hard because, you see, in elections, the magic to the victory is hard work.
You're welcome back. Let's stay on the issue of political polls because former President John Mahama has dismissed recent researches and polls that say President Akufo-Addo will lead in the upcoming polls. Mr. Mahama describes them as concocted. In an interview with JoyNews' Emefa Apau after his Savannah regional campaign tour, Mr. Mahama also charged the Electoral Commission to work hard to inspire confidence and hinted of last-minute policies his party will roll out before December 7.
When you're cooking the polls, of course, they will point in your favor. You saw the example of University of Ghana recently, where people were paid to manufacture a fake poll, saying that the MPP was going to win, And so there are a lot of polls that are manufactured. We've done our own polling, and we are quite confident. Well, one of our polling indicates that we're winning the majority in Parliament, so that is a given. You know, we're aiming at between 143 and 145 seats. They took more than 37 seats from us. We're claiming most. We're going to take most of them back.
You have confidence in the G Mensah-led EC?
They'll have to win my confidence.
And speaking of the Electoral Commission, the EC in the Ashanti region says it has a working strategy to ensure timely delivery of election results as the Commission targets early declaration of results. Per the EC's plan, final election results must be declared 24 hours after beginning of the polls. Regional EC Director Benjamin Banobio will not disclose the strategies towards achieving the goals, but assured necessary steps have been taken. Nanaya Ojima had an exclusive interview with the EC and filed this report.
Collation of election results often delays due to challenges in transporting election results from polling stations to constituency collation centers. Many areas in some constituencies continue to be hard to reach due to poor roads and other circumstances. The Ashanti region, with the highest constituencies, may be the most challenged, but the Electoral Commission says all these were factored into its decision. Regional Director of the EC, Benjamin Banobio, explains the region is well covered to meet the set deadline.
We have taken consideration of all those areas and we have put in place, but I wouldn't want to disclose it to you. We have put in place specific programs to ensure that we achieve that success. And we have practiced it at the national level, at the regional level, and at the district level. So we know what we are talking about. And the results that will be declared is also going to be a true reflection of the decisions of the people who voted. So don't worry, we are going to do that. I have discussed with our officers. The strategies has been put in place to ensure successful delivery of election results, and that we stand by what the Commission has indicated.
Weeks ahead of the elections, the region received all electoral materials for onward distribution. Mr. Banobio assured of preparedness to deliver credible elections.
Every material that is required for the exercise has been sent to all the constituencies. We are finished with the training. Training ended, grassroots training ended on the 30th. So you can see that we have 6 clear days before the polls. As now we are just going over, finding out how things are being done, supervising our district officers in terms of their district packaging and things like that. So we have enough time for preparation, and everything is set for a very successful, free, fair, orderly, and timely elections.
Nanaya Ojima reporting.
Still on the Electoral Commission, the Commission says it is unwilling to change the choice of collation center for Asawase constituency despite objections by the National Democratic Congress.
The incumbent Member of Parliament for Asawase constituency has objected to the use of the Asukariman Palace as a collation center for December 7 polls. For him, the incumbent Member of Parliament for Asawase constituency has objected to the use of the Asukariman Palace as a collation center for December 7 polls. For him, the area is unsuitable because of heavy vehicular traffic in the evening and the bushy environment.
One, the place is obscured. It's at the outskirts of the city. It is surrounded by bush that could easily be used as hideouts. There are a lot of uncompleted houses there that could also be used as hideouts. Also, everybody in this constituency knows in the morning the traffic is from Asukariman towards town, and in the evening the traffic is from town towards Asukariman.
Love News visit to the area indicates the street lights are well lit with installed security cameras. a weedy space opposite the palace is being developed by the local assembly. This is the Askwari Mamponchi's palace, the point the Electoral Commission has chosen for collation of ballots for the Asawase constituency on December 7th. As you can see, it's a huge acreage of land, well fenced, and security is high here in the palace. Behind me is the court the EC will use as the point during the collation. Ashanti Regional Director of the Electoral Commission, Benjamin Banobiu, says the choice was carefully made, taking all necessary security and safety protocols into consideration.
Convenience is the place that you have selected. Convenient to be used as a collation center. Is it accessible that people can go there? Is it spacious? You know, we are not in normal times. Is it spacious enough to ensure social distancing? These are some of the things we consider.
Well, in the Ashanti region, some electorate within the Nshaisu constituency are threatening to vote skirt and blouse during the December 7 elections. The residents say, in spite of the massive support enjoyed by the MPs since the inception of the Fourth Republic, they have failed to deal with the threat of armed robbery and also fix their deplorable roads. There's more in this report.
For electorates in the Nshaisu constituency, two key issues will determine their vote in the upcoming parliamentary elections: poor road networks in the constituency and the surge in criminal activities in the area. Most of the broad daylight criminal activities in the Ashanti region have taken place within the constituency. Outgoing MP for the area, Kennedy Kankam, and his family were held hostage for 3 hours by armed robbers at his residence. Two armed robbers on a motorbike robbed a young man of his money he had just withdrawn from the bank. That's not all. It's in the same constituency that two Canadian girls were kidnapped, and it's also where a Chinese man was killed recently. The electorate will say they are worried about the state of insecurity and unhappy authorities have failed to take action to stem the crime rate. Another major concern of theirs is the poor roads here. Some of them have threatened to vote against the NPP and its parliamentary candidates if their concerns are not addressed.
And that's why I said I wanted not to vote, because our roads are not good. Security is not perfect. Security is not good. Right. Over here, about 2 or 3 times we've had people being murdered. Right. You hardly see policemen around here. It's only the Paraku Estate and all this that they used to have police posts, but they are not working. You hardly see police person patrolling here. If I'm not mistaken, the only time you see policemen is when they are on the roads in the mornings. I mean, checking. And sometimes they check in the dark. No one knows what they are checking. I don't want to commit myself. They come around 4:30 and 7 o'clock they are gone. I don't know what they do check, but we all believe that, or we assume that they go out to check. That's the only time you see policemen around. But apart from that, you don't see policemen patrolling. So there's no security here. And the roads, as I did say, are not in good shape. All the roads are bad.
I'm for Yare power, Mantemoa. It may be shy. No, I'm just to that. I'm going to have a parliamentary candidate of MPP, Metro and this is a newcomer, but Ocean Monday bar, Obutua boy. MPP in India Mentomano, because who say a quan we cry, a quan we are that way, Futu Queen and Yadiam for Yaro Mantemano, mean to my MPP.
We've also been told that there are security issues. Kakawaha, Sabia,
Chronosem. I had my bond 9 not so your Beman or buy your tackle. You discover your bag of phone. The security issues are bad woman, and she also a bad. So who name that's a bond 9. That's when we are not them more. That's a oh yes, oh now one also your Bemo, we will how cheese can be choice. A bit prominent baby, you can't be a VA.
I'm waiting. If they are able to fix the Daban route before December elections, well, the MP can get my votes. But if not that, well, because I'm not seeing so much of the MPs. I'm not seeing so much. I do personally think that the things that they need to be doing, pushing up there, they are not. And then they are just considering roads. So if they are able to fix the roads, but for Nanado, he'll get the votes outright. But then for the MP, if something is not being done about the road, well, I don't think he deserves my vote. Security is a major concern. I do understand that recently there was an armed robbery case here in front of the Fidelity Bank. And these are some of the things that these MPs are supposed to look into it. They do not have to just leave it into the hands of the regional minister.
3 candidates are on the parliamentary ballot for this year's election. NPP's Stephen Amoa, NDC's Richard Kwamanapra, and an independent candidate, Ebo Jones Jebi. In an interview with JoyNews, NDC's parliamentary candidate, Richard Pra, promised to prioritize security in the area if elected.
She also plays host to the regional coordinating council. We have all the security tops having their residence here. We have the military, that is officers' mess, is in Inshiaso. The police commander, all of them are residents in Inshiaso. So not too long ago, 4 years ago, under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the IGP then brought this idea of the police visibility department, and our commander, Commissioner Kofi Buachi, came to us, the residents in Inshiaso, because he is also a resident in Inshiaso, and said crime is going up. We have stealing, killings. A pastor has been killed in Enyinem, which is in Inshiaso. A young lady was stabbed and killed at Daban New Site. We can list them. So he said, no, we need to do something about it. It is not all up to the security agency. We, the citizens, also have a part to play. So what can we do to support them? We contributed and built containers. This metal for police posts. If you drive in Inshiaso, every junction has one.
Now, I want to stay for this. A 47-year-old chief in Kumasi has abdicated his stool to contest this year's parliamentary elections on the ticket of the National Democratic Congress in the Adanse Asokwa constituency. Nanedu Abankro II, who until June this year was the Adie Bebane and a leading member of the Mare division at the Minshia Palace, says he took the decision to abdicate his stool to enable him pursue development for the people in the area. Ohimin Tewia has more in the following report.
Known in private life as Kenneth Boache Echampong, the S. Adebabahini reigned for 8 years until he dropped the bombshell to abdicate his revered stool.
I decided to progress because every human being needs progression, and I sat down and know that my progress will come from here.
After several failed attempts to convince the kingmakers who initially rejected his decision, he has now performed all the necessary traditional rites to signify his abdication.
I sat down with my chief and elders and queen mother of my soul. Initially, they didn't agree with me, but it's my decision, so I have to move. So later on, they understood. So I do unnecessary rituals and abrogate the stool. So I'm no more a chief in Adeoba.
The 1992 Constitution debars chiefs from actively engaging in partisan politics. Clause 1 of Article 276 of the Constitution instructs chiefs who seek election as parliamentarians to abdicate their stool or skin.
According to the Constitution of Ghana, you can't be a chief and at the same time be a member of parliament. So I've abrogated the stool and become a parliamentary candidate. So I'm no more a chief.
7th December 2020, Obian Tunaba, Emma Kenneth Boache Achampong.
Nana Abankro's abdication is not only a fulfillment of that constitutional provision, but also in heeding to the warnings of the Asantehene. The overlord of the Ashanti Kingdom, Otumfo Osei-Tutu II, has repeatedly warned his chiefs against meddling in active politics. I visited the Mensha Palace to speak to monarchical historian Osebonsu Safo Kantanka. He says Nana Abankro's decision is a sign of respect to the Asantehene.
You just don't have to combine the two. Active politics and the traditional activities. So Asantehene would certainly be very happy to see his own grandson abdicate, that is to say, obeying the traditional laws.
Nana Abankro is not the first chief to abdicate his tool to pursue political ambition. That is according to Mr. Osebonsu. But what is so special about the Adiababa Hene? Mr. Osebonsu again.
Everybody matters. Adiababa is among the Kumasi communities. Adiababa is also an important community of the Kumasi Traditional Council. And even towns and villages far away from Kumasi matter. So how much more a town or village that is within the Kumasi township?
This will hear on Election Brief. Now, Executive Director of the Salt and Light Ministries and former CEO of the Minerals Commission, Dr. Joyce Ayi, has urged Ghanaians to also have hope in God and prayer alongside every election activity towards ensuring a peaceful December 7 polls. Dr. Joyce Ayi is the latest among a number of women of Christian faith who've been appearing on Joy Time in his presence on Joy 99.7 FM to preach peace in the upcoming polls. Her sermon was based on the biblical illustration about how the disciples prayed and cast lots to select a replacement for Judas Iscariot. She was hosted by Pastor Ato Aqua.
Let's walk out with what we have, the shalom of God, the peace of God. It's ours. We have it. We can give it. We don't have to be afraid. We're going into these elections as people of God. People that God is going to use to actually show forth. You know, God knows who is going to win. But God says, come alongside me. Give me your thumb. I will use your thumb to let you know in the physical what I know in the spiritual.
Wow.
Yes, I know whom I have chosen, but you don't. So come alongside me. Pray to me. Let me show you who I have chosen, and go and use your thumb to do so as your act from me. You see, what a privilege that God, who can do all things, Pastor, will say, you should come alongside, I should come alongside him to show what he has already done in the spirit. You know, so your thumb is very important to God. Beloved, I hope you are not one of those who says, oh, I don't want to go and vote. You have to go and vote. If you belong to God, it is your duty to him to go and vote. In the book of Acts, when they needed to replace Judas, they voted because they said they cast lots, but they prayed. They prayed before they did it. Listen to the prayer, Pastor. The prayer is in Acts 1:24. Then they prayed, Lord, you know everybody's heart. Show us which of these two you have chosen to take over the apostolic ministry which Judas left. Then they cast lots. So after the prayer, they voted.
Wow.
And the vote went to Matthias. Acts chapter 1, from about 20. It is all there. Beloved, I'm excited about this God who is so awesome and who chooses to work through us. Hey, Pastor, when I think about it, I don't know what to do.
So you heard there, Dr. Joyce Ayi there. It is your civic duty and God-given duty to vote. And speaking of voting, various youth groups in the Techiman North and South constituencies of the Bono East region are being urged to be agents of peace in the build-up to the 2020 general elections at a musical conference held in Techiman under the theme Peace and Stability and Responsibility of the Ghanaian Patriot in Times Like This, President of the Mid-North Conference of the SDA, Pastor Jonathan Amo Amayao, called on members of the church to say no to political violence. Anasabit has more.
The Mid-North Ghana Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church and the Golden Voices Choral GH has held a musical conference dubbed Boasumdwe Dawuro, aimed at promoting peace ahead of the 2020 general elections. The program, held under the theme Peace and Stability, a Responsibility of the Ghanaian Patriot in Times Like This, brought together all stakeholders including Nananom, political parties, AEC, the NCC and various youth groups across the Techiman North and South constituencies. President of the Mid-North Ghana Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Pastor Jonathan Amo Amayao, highlighted reasons why the church is embarking on a peace campaign.
Seventh-day Adventist Church, we stand for peace, and we think with peace you can have opportunity to worship our God. And election is about a choice making. It is not about fighting. It's not about war. It is a way of making choices. Somebody to represent you, somebody to think for you, and somebody to decide for you. So the church has taken upon itself. Now we organize such gatherings to herald peace so that people will understand and then go about election peacefully.
Representing the Omahini of the Techiman Traditional Council, Okon Ojiman Kesi Baseshia II, Oforikrum Hene and Binkum Hene of the Techiman Traditional Area called on the people to embrace peace and adhere to dialogue in resolving political conflicts.
We are begging everyone around to unite as a people so that it doesn't become like every 4 years there's some panic here and there. All that happened in Sierra Leone, Liberia, and so on and so forth. People were killed through cutlasses, guns, and so on. But finally, they met around conference table to talk for the thing to end. Why don't we start the thing from the conference table and then have our peace than to go the reverse way? I'm sure what I've said, everybody will take it serious so that everybody will be free.
Parliamentary candidate for the National Democratic Congress in the Techiman South constituency, Mr. Christopher Berry, pledged to be an agent of peace and called on all to do same.
Me, Christopher Berry, and NDC, me mamin saso, esha mo bosse, medi, and she say bia electoral commission. And a minor, a war. Send a bear as we be a teaching.
Also present at the event is the Deputy Bono East Regional Minister and Member of Parliament for Techiman North Constituency, Mr. Martin Otijako. Reporting for JoyNews, Anas Sabit, Techiman.
And that's a wrap of Election Brief for today. Remember, this is your home of fearless, credible, and impactful journalism. Election Brief returns same time tomorrow. I'm Arba Kumson. I'll be right back because the NDC is about addressing a news conference.